Welcome to the CPTM Smart Partners Hub in London, in Catherine Place, 63. Today is the 5th of August and 2016, and it is indeed a very nice, beautiful summer day, an August day. And as we know, in Britain usually it's raining, it's cloudy, or it's cold or humid. Because of that we have green grass all the time. But when the sky is blue, it's a very beautiful time to be in UK, in London, and that makes also the CPTM Smart Partners Hub looking very positive to the way forward, to the very many initiatives that started in the last few months, and not only at the hub, but also from the national hubs, as I gathered in the last few weeks, in Swaziland, in Lesotho, in Harare, in Uganda, etc. So, in St. Lucia. The usual end of the week email that I'm sharing with all the CPTM Smart Partners this week was sent yesterday for one reason, to announce that Monday, those who want to send some particular views or questions to our very special guest at the hub, Sheila Ronis, Professor Sheila Ronis, from the Center for Complex and Strategic Decision, and a member of the Public Sector Foresight Network. They could also do so. So the think tank interaction that will take place at the hub on Monday is very much dedicated to those smart partners who are engaged for a number of years, or who are supporting recently or thinking of getting involved into supporting national vision processes. As we know, the strategic framework that smart partners developed based on their manifesto, the Limitless Opportunities, does involve national visions being delivered through the interaction with a number of other inclusive initiatives which are essential for operationalizing the challenges that the national visions are stating. And for that reason, we will welcome Sheila Ronis, who is particularly specialized and well known, not only in US government establishments and various think tanks, well-known think tanks, but also in the countries such as Singapore and probably many other countries she will talk to us about. But her particular statement and background is probably connected to a book which was published by her a few years ago, but since then there are quite a number of material more in-depth which she will talk to us about, but the timelines into the future about strategic visioning, methods for government, business and other organizations. We have been discussing and trying to inspire ourselves from it, from this book, which is based on real-time experience and analysis, since about a year and a half ago, when we tried to look at the networks again, at the visioning, and at the foresight methodology. And as usual, once we found that there are quite a number of things useful from this particular background, including many other things that Sheila did or wrote, which can be found on internet by anybody who is interested to follow it up. Once we do that, the CPTM Smart Partners Hub, the book or the papers disappear. And the book has been bought about 15 times, by the way of going to Uganda, by the way of briefing for President Kikwete, terribly interested in division, by the way of Cameroon, the recent technical assistance, where it was discussed at the various interactions with various government departments around the Ministry of Economic Planning, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, etc. So I'm very, very glad that Monday Sheila will be with us, and we look forward to your various inputs over the weekend. If you can, questions that you'd like to find out from Sheila. Sheila will have a discussion at the hub, and also hopefully she will record a webcast. But if you have questions, she might be able to answer during the webcast for you. So now this email yesterday, which was sent to you because of the announcement for Sheila's think tanking Monday, was actually mainly related to two things. One was to share with everybody some insights which are very relevant to everybody's work from this year's World Future Society and from the Public Sector Foresight Network meeting that took place in association with that in Washington at the end of July. And we were able to give you already some insights, some links, websites to various things which I thought they were interesting, but I thought that it would be quite useful if I were to emphasize just a very few issues, so that you are attracted even more so to check the various links and the report that has been put together. There will be more additional background as they become available, both from Public Sector Foresight Network through Nancy Donovan, who is also a CPTM Smart Partner from the Government Accountability Office, and I'm very grateful to her, together with Clem Bezelt, and including probably other feedback from those that we contacted on your behalf from the World Future Society. But let me share with you one or two things that you may want to look a bit more in detail, and which I found useful to emphasize. One is that at the PSFN, if I take the PSFN Day, the Public Sector Foresight Network, which was attended or is being attended, is formed the network of real-time professionals, analysts, some of the best of the kind, specialized in both foresight methodology, but also in actually not just studying or perfecting the methodology, but trying to apply it, being part of developing a taste for foresight within the government and the private sector context. So, the one thing that was interesting was the experience shared by the Department of Veteran Affairs in the United States in relation to maximizing Foresight's relevance, and what was for in relation to risk programming budgeting. One of the things which came out from it was that Foresight, unless it is built into the fabric and the process of the institution and the organization, it won't have any impact. It won't be reflected into the way the organization is becoming more agile, able to deal with risks, with budgeting, with programming, etc. So they made a reference to a number of other situations besides Foresight type of processes that are being flagged by various government departments all over the world, such as innovation or such as delivery units. The need for woven in the fabric of the institution, the organization, the Foresight methodology and the Foresight Foresight processing, is extremely important. So that obviously makes reference also to vision, but I'll come to that. Extremely relevant, very, very relevant, and more information can be found from Stephen Sanford, who is head of strategy in the Government Accountability Office, and who brought in the idea that Foresight might actually benefit, and they experimented with what is called design thinking. Again, further information you can find, and they will be sent to you later. Very relevant. I'm following our report. The need for actually the need for and the ability to involve all the government departments in and benefit from Foresight was very well demonstrated by those people from Canada, in particular the head of Policy Horizon Canada, Peter Padbury, and who gave some examples on emerging challenges and opportunities on digital economy, on work and learning, which is what they've been lately able to infiltrate more or less as lessons and risks and opportunities within the Canadian government. Now, together with Tracy Waite and a number of other colleagues who are obviously giving the signal that Canadian government, Canadian institutions and private sector is probably well ahead in practicing Foresight. So it's very much worthwhile following that, particularly the countries who are in the Commonwealth and probably can relate to the Canadian Westminster style system. The one thing that was most novel from our point of view was the Foresight as related or embedded into the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals. And that was done by, again, Chris Mim from the Government Accountability Office, who is heavily involved leading what is called international supreme audit organizations in UN as well as in the US Government Accountability Office. Now, the reason why that was a novel dimension, which we didn't pay yet attention to it is, number one, because in the last year or so, either through National Vision or through national statistics or a number of other dimensions we're dealing with, we had to absorb or to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals that has been stated last year in the UN, adopted last year in September, or to be followed since then in various institutional frameworks. And it became quite obvious that from the discussions that I had even after that, organized over a coffee on Monday morning after the World Future Society by Nancy, it became quite clear that national audit offices are extremely relevant to be part of the processes related both to national visions which are being carried forward, but also in relation to, and they are dependent of, data and statistics, as well as a number of other things. So our take is that we need to look into how to engage national audit processes in relation to the data, statistics and national visions, and we're going to do that. And of course, relevant to implementation of Sustainable Development Goals at the national level. Related to the Intosai strategic document which was presented, Supreme Audit, Katarina Tully also, who is the head of School of International Futures in the United Kingdom, also brought in her experience in different countries where she tried to engage with the future, as she said, and with bringing in international innovations. But all was focused on foresight methodology in relation to sustainable development goals. And one of the benefits, obviously, of PSFN, of the network, is that there are a number of many professionals present there with whom we discussed on the site when we didn't know, or we renew their existence, our knowledge of each other. But among those, probably I would mention that Sheila Ronis, Professor Sheila Ronis, who's coming to us on Monday, was again very relevant to the discussions which took place that day, as was Dr. Leon Fouert, who is first time that we introduce him and his particular work that he's doing in the last few years on foresight, vision, and overall operationalizing anticipatory governance. Leon Fouert, you will see from the various things that you could follow in the internet, he was a former, as he says, National Security Advisor, the former Vice President Albert Gore, but he's a most complete kind of professional I met in the very few briefing discussions I was able to have with him in relation to application of networks in the government, and doing so in operationalizing both foresight and visions. And for that reason, I have been forwarding you, in addition to Sheila's, one of his paper for which I did ask some feedback, particularly from those who are involved in the visions, national visions in the CPTM context. Now, the World Future Society itself started with their 50th anniversary. It's interesting to know there are 50 years since various forecasting methodology and in the government and private sector have been promoted through the World Future Society. There are futurists coming from all over the world, such as China, Finland, Europe, Africa, of course, Canada and United States. The one thing that this year struck me was that the format of the meeting was a bit more conducive to interaction. It is a conference, but they did adopt what usually smart partnership dialogues in the movement we have, round tables and discussions with catalyzers on specific topics, which they called unconference. And one morning they did that, and it was interesting that quite a number of tables were very much interested in, for instance, financial technology, fintech, and the applications of that in relation to consumers, financially, banking particularly. So I participated in that, and there is somebody could be approached if you want to take forward this. But overall, the World Future Society, as usual, and I won't go in detail through it, approached both different sectors in a government context, different private sector, new ones who are involved in commercializing both 3D printing, space technology, organic food, etc. But also get involved into completely new areas where imagination and new methods for artificial intelligence and goes towards Arthur Clarke type of science fiction, but is less science fiction. What we have seen there is more real, what is likely to happen. I chose three things to attract your attention from this. One is obviously the blockchain. There were discussions or references to blockchain technology almost everywhere in all the topics. One of it which was most interesting was about progressing or advancing learning with application of blockchain technology. Of course, it's quite at the beginning, but because blockchain technology with standards and everything else related to it is also evolving outside Bitcoin and financial sector slowly into governance. But in education, if you were to follow the session where I put quite a number of links, you will see there is a lot of thinking and a lot of interest in learning and earning with the facility of blockchain technology. So look into it. Another aspect of blockchain, of course, there is a lot. There were people present from MIT Lab, Christina Dolan, who explained quite in detail what is the status of blockchain technology currently. But also, together with her, was a most impressive presence of Amanda Parks, who is involved in wearable. Wearables, not as wearables, only as they emerged a couple of years ago, and we brought in the issue of wearables through our CBTN Smart partner Fortini, whom we are very grateful for it, but go beyond that in relation to bodycraft, in relation to new type of wearable blockchain and digital associations. So it's very much worthwhile following that, because it's not something that one is only talking about. It's something which money has been put into it, and it's quite incredible. So do follow the Amanda Parks bodycraft and blockchain. Related to these two things, and maybe other two kind of other technology developments, there was a very intriguing but very, very real kind of advice given to everyone to look into future careers. And so future career, future jobs, such as those related to this bodycraft, or such as those related to many other things. Those future professions, which don't even have a name, but you can already predict, or you see them that they happen. How do you relate to it? How do you prepare yourself to it? So Christopher Bishop was himself traversed a number of professions, reaching the strategy group in IBM, has a very interesting way of advising everyone in how to identify future careers which don't exist yet, prepare for yourself and advertise yourself for it. So that is, in addition to this, again, I would like to finish with about the World Future Society. There was a session with Leon Fouet and Sheila Ronis with colleagues have been also putting forward to the whole World Future Society, not just to the PSFN. And what specifically Leon Fouet was discussing about was, he alerted, I made a note here which I like to reflect it as I thought he said it. He thought that most of the government structures, that they are US, that they are any other country anywhere in the world, most of the government structures, that the formal systems are 18th century type of systems. They cannot deal with problems, they cannot cover costs of the problem. Doesn't matter what you do if you just tinker with the machinery of the governmental administration, and probably some similar way in private sector. So the emerging digital landscape, in addition to the issues which are being dealt with not in a linear fashion, in an integrated way, the way our CBTN Inclusive Initiative just demonstrated about a few weeks ago through the financial inclusion standards and statistics, including data science, demonstrated that kind of real-time integration between issues which have to be dealt with and which are referred to as being complex. And things are more and more complex because we are able to integrate or interact or intercross issues and people. So the structures in the government, however much we are being tinkered with, they cannot deal with issues in a manner which avoids high risks, gives ability to adapt and to manage both in crisis as well as in taking opportunities. So obviously the foresight, as well as different from foresight, a visionary process which motivates structures to change, the former structures. That was the case which was made based on a lot of thinking and practice that Leon Fouet and his colleagues had for a number of years. Alongside Leon, again, Sheila Romis brought in her own methodology to add to the need again for foresight methodology to be infused not only all over the government departments, but particularly at the level of leaders, including Office of the President in the US, but as we know, all the various CPTM fellows, heads of government, in the last 20 years or so, starting with Malaysia 2020, and then going to Botswana 2016, which goes to another phase this year, Seychelles 2020, St. Lucia 2020, Uganda 2040, Namibia 2040, Swaziland 2025, Mozambique 2020, and Tanzania, just to name a few. All the various heads of government, offices of leaders, they do require that sort of ability to manage the visionary process, but also to put in place foresight, not just at their offices, but within the whole structure, so that the structure of the government adapts in its own context. So this is probably what I would emphasize to you from the World Future Society 2016 and from the Public Sector Foresight this year in Washington, that took place in Washington, and for much more you have in our report, and other background will also follow and will be sent to you. Finally, our CPTM Smart Partners Hub is very much enjoying the summer, and you will see that there are flowers all over the place, in addition to quite a lot of work going on, but because of the flowers and the issues we are able to manage quite well and welcome all the CPTM hubs who happen to be in London or Smart Partners at any time. So have a nice weekend.